Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our final digital marketing webinar in a 5-part series with the Watertown Daily Times media team. We've really enjoyed getting a deep dive into a number of these topics throughout this series, and our final topic is programmatic display. We have Nancy presenting for us today from the team, and Rudy Clark, who is our go-to guy, isn't on today, but we can certainly be sharing his information as the point of contact. We encourage you to ask questions in the chat box throughout the presentation. We'll have plenty of time at the end to answer those questions. And I always say no question is too silly or too small. We've got an expert on the line here to learn from. And the more we know, the more we can improve our own businesses and operations and efforts. So thank you so much all for being here. We're really proud from the St. Lawrence County Chamber to be hosting this series with the Greater Watertown North Country Chamber and a number of other chambers across the North Country. So we thank you all for being here and learning with us, and let's get going. Nancy, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Brooke. And thank you, Chris, Rudy, and I want to thank everybody that has attended throughout this whole series. Appreciate the engagement, and I look forward to more questions today as we cruise through programmatic display. So, let's look at the agenda. Well, first, you might say, what is programmatic display? Well, I'll be going over that. Also be going over how it fits into that buyer's journey, and look at all the different targeting options that we have for it. Talk a little bit about conversion tracking, pixels, reporting, and differentiators, along with a case study. So what is programmatic display? Kind of a fancy name for saying a display ads, which the best way to explain it is, say, like ESPN on their website, they have millions and millions and millions of impressions each day. They have people that are selling them, but they can't sell them all. So that's where what's called a demand side platform, a DSP, comes in and basically holds an auction. So if you're on ESPN, you may have been doing, some searches recently for shoes. And so then you would fall into that segment or that category that says, oh, this person's looking for some shoes. So they're going to, on the back end, this DSP will be bidding on ads to serve to you that are relevant for anything about shoes. So again, programmatic display, a little bit of a fancy word just to say it's an auction that's ongoing, it's every day, but it's a matter of getting the ad in front of the person that it's most relevant for. So here's an example. This is USA Today, and on the right here, this is a desktop version. So you'll see there's a King Soopers ad. This is the local grocery store where I'm located. And so that's an example of a display ad on a desktop. But over here, we have a mobile screenshot on the weather channel. And you can see this ad up here is one for Apple, the AirPods. And down here, we've got one for Discover credit card. All these are considered programmatic ads. They were bid on in order to show up on mine, just from what my search history has been, what I've been doing. So they've said, oh, you must be within that target that we want to serve an ad to. So let's show her an ad. So where does this fall in the buyer's journey? So programmatic has a few different places because of the targeting that we can do. So it's the main thing is it's at the top of the funnel. It's that branding and awareness, getting those ads out in front of those people who may be interested in a product or service or have shown some kind of interest, and having your ad show up to them so that you may be aware. You might not have heard of this business before, but then the ad, you'll start seeing it, it gets familiar with you. So it's just that awareness, branding part, get it out in front of you. And then we can also do the site retargeting. You may have noticed this. If you've been to a website, even maybe that same day or the next day, you'll start seeing ads at whatever product you look for at the website, or if you had something in your shopping cart and abandoned it, you might get that ad saying, hey, you didn't finish your purchase. Do you want to come back? So it falls into two different categories. Once, the conversion piece, because you've shown intent and interest by going to their website, and then also just the general branding and awareness. Our recommendation is always to use different ad creative for that display retargeting, like what I mentioned, possibly if someone's left something in their shopping cart or a specific product or item that they're looking at. So then it's just more tailored to that person's needs. So we have multiple different targeting options. Behavioral targeting, this just shows, it can say like what you've been doing, what have you been searching for, what websites have you been on in the past, week, 2 weeks, whatever that time period may be. Like for instance, I was just looking for some new shoes, like what lady doesn't have enough shoes? And so I was looking for some Doc Martens, and I had been to their website. I hadn't been to Zappos, but Zappos had realized, oh, she fits into this category. So Zappos starts sending me some ads as well as I'm going throughout the web over the next few days. I could have been in the Weather Channel, wherever that might have been, but I've been designated, I've been determined, oh, she's interested in shoes. Well, let's start sending her shoes. So all these other brands are bidding on that impression in order to serve it to me because I've shown interest or intent. And then content targeting, this is where it's, say if you're reading an article that's about home improvement in general, like the best new colors, color scheme for this year. Anything with that content that has to do specifically to home improvement, you could have your ad align with that content. So if you're a hardware store, paint store, anything like that, you say, oh, I want to get in front of those people that'll be doing home improvement. That means that's a content targeting that we're referring to. Demo targeting is pretty much your basic anything demographics. So that's going to be age, income, gender, where you're living. Pretty straightforward on that with geo. That's right down to the zip code we can do. If you have a larger area you want to target, we could do a radius, a county, whatever that may include. And then site retargeting, we talked about that. Once someone's visited your website, then we can start following them around. That's where we do have to have that pixel placed on the website. And then we have search retargeting. Search retargeting is great because it will track, it's keyword based. So just the other day we were talking about SEM, where it's keyword based on Google. This search retargeting is keyword based on a specific website that you've been on. So like if I've been on Zappos looking for shoes, then I would fall into that category of, she's interested in shoes, start serving her ads based upon what she's been searching on. So it could also be like if you're on REI, you've been searching for skis. That's where it gets triggered once you're on a website searching specifically, not on Google. So I want to make that clear. There's two different things. However, we can get in front of those people that are searching. And then we have frequency, how many times we're going to serve that ad to somebody, because we don't want to be intrusive. We just want to, keep enough frequency just to stay in front of them. And then we can also day part. So if it's a restaurant, we might start serving ads. If they're focusing on lunch, we can start serving ads at 10 or 11 a.m. If they're focusing on dinner, we could serve the ads from 3 to 5. Anything that's specific to that business, that's certainly something we can do. So lots of different options depending on what your goals are. And then we can narrow it down to what works best for you. So behavioral targeting, we can go a little bit deeper into this. It's tracking those behaviors of what you're doing online. And here's just some ideas across the board. We've got the arts, entertainment, auto buyers, enthusiasts in general, politics, purchase behaviors, real estate, shopping. But let's go a little bit deeper with this one. So we could let's take the restaurant example here. So beyond that initial interest in food and drink, we can go very granular. If you have someone that has a pizza restaurant, it can be specifically for restaurants, people looking for pizzerias, pizza lovers. If you're talking high-end dining, we can go fine dining enthusiasts. So just so you know, there's multiple different targeting segments that we can hit. Doesn't mean that we need to make it so finite that our audience is super small. We can keep it a little broader. But when we do want to get down to a specific target, we can layer on multiple behaviors to make sure that we're getting in front of that specific audience for you. And this is just an example of all of our demo targeting where we got the household income, different age range, ethnicity, education as well. So yeah, if you happen to be looking for a family making 150,000 plus a year, with a graduate's degree, you want to serve them ads, that's something we can certainly do as well. And here's the content targeting I was referring to earlier. So like arts and entertainment, you might be working with a movie theater. So let's make sure we're getting those ads in front of any article that talks about arts and entertainment. Could be talking about the Golden Globes, the Oscars, whatever that might be, or even what's going on at a local performing arts theater. That content, your ad would be next to it because it aligns with what those people are interested in. Search retargeting. So this is what I spoke a little bit about earlier. So this where it pairs well, it does pair well with SEM that we talked about on Tuesday, because it is all keyword based. This can be great too for conquesting. So if you want to use your competitor's keyword as, or competitor's name as a keyword, we can certainly do that. So if someone does happen to search for a competitor, then you can be showing up, or if they go to their website and start searching on it, you could be showing up your ads when someone is looking for them or what their services are. So again, just one more layer that we can add into the targeting to make sure that we're reaching as many people as possible that fit into your pool, your audience pool that you want to target. Site retargeting, again, this is where we need to put that pixel on the website. So, and it could be for a specific page. If someone comes, to your About Us page, or it could be across all pages, no matter where they are on your website, then it triggers, okay, they've been to the website. Let's start putting ads in front of them over the next X amount of time, depending on what you're selling. Like if it's if it's an HVAC, they probably need your services sooner than later. So we might only serve that ad over the next couple of weeks to them. But if it's a longer purchase journey, like real estate, then we could be serving them that ad over the next 30, 60, 90 days, whatever that might be. Pretty straightforward. And then pixels, like what we were talking about, that's what's used for the site retargeting and conversion tracking. So if you were on a call, previous calls, we've talked about conversion tracking. So that means if someone goes to your website and submits a form fill, wants more information, that would be a conversion. So we can also track the phone calls as well, or any pages that they've visited. So anything that is important to you that could be a conversion, you would just let us know, and that's where we can track those conversions. And also we would have that in the reporting as well. I've got some examples here later that I can show you. And site retargeting, I feel like we've talked about that pretty in depth, but definitely works better for something, if someone's going to be in that purchase funnel for a little bit longer, we definitely want to make sure we're staying in front of them. Say if they've been to the competitor's website to see, who they might be choosing. Maybe the competitor's not using site retargeting. And if you are, your name's going to be top of mind, staying in front of them as opposed to the competitor. So just one more layer to get you those conversions that you're looking for. So another thing we can do too with those conversions, it's called post-click and post-impression conversions. So once again, once that pixel is on your website, we can track if someone is if they've seen your ad, they've been served your ad, say they don't click on it, but maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days later, they go directly to your website. That's called post-impression conversion. So it helps us, for the attribution to show they might not click on the ad, because I don't always click on ads. Sometimes I'll just open up a new tab and go directly to, to their website to find out more information, because I don't want to leave the page that I'm currently on. So it's another step for us to make sure, we're hitting that right audience, they're engaged, and we're seeing those conversions. Same with the post-click. Someone may click on the ad, go to the website, but then they might not convert immediately. If they come back a week later and submit that form fill, we'll be able to track that as well. So it's super, super important anytime we're running a display campaign, anytime you run a digital campaign as a whole, have those pixels placed on your website. Oftentimes there's someone that your web dev team can help with those pixels. If not, that's something we can help with as well. So it holds us even more accountable, but then also we can show you the results of the campaign. Here's an example too of what we can track. This is for the Olive Garden. So we can actually track up to 5 conversions per campaign. So for the Olive Garden, it made sense to track the order now URL. Also, you can join a waitlist URL. If someone's viewing the menu, I don't know about you, but that's one of the first things I always do if I know I'm going somewhere to eat. Just you can view it at home now, get an idea of what they've got to offer, but that does show intent. So that could be in conversion along with location. So someone wants to see where you're actually located, you can click on that, they're viewing that page, again, a conversion. And maybe even if they're looking for recruitment, doing a recruitment campaign, once they go to that careers page, that's something that can also be tracked. So whatever's most important to you, and we can offer some of those suggestions as well, work with you and say, you know, this might be a good conversion to track versus this one, but then as a whole, we'll come up with all those together. So reporting, I just talked about that earlier. So with reporting, again, our dashboard, we have a link. So Rudy would be able to share a link with you. So you would have full access to this. It updates, you know, within the past 24 hours. So it'll always have, you know, super current metrics for you. But it goes over everything from impressions, clicks, where we're targeting, to conversions. And it's got the creative on there as well. So let's take a little deeper dive here and see, here's be an overall glance at the campaign as a whole. So it'll show how many impressions there were. The green numbers on the bottom are month over month numbers. So impressions were up month over month. Clicks were also up month over month. Same with click-through rate and conversions. So with clicks, average click-through rate's about 0.06 to 0.08. And our team, we have a baseline that we have to hit, which is 0.10. That holds us even more accountable to make sure we're serving the ads to the right audience and that they are engaged. So as you can see with this one, we're above our 0.10 benchmark at the 0.112 and above just national average as a whole. But then we can get deeper into the reporting and get down to the zip codes. We can see how many impressions were served for each zip code, the clicks, the conversions, and those post-impression conversions and post-click conversions that I was just talking about. These also are tracked in here as well. So this just, I mean, the post-impression conversion shows how many people didn't even click on the ad, but then went to the website later. So it's a pretty high percentage of people that, you know, don't necessarily click on ads. So click-through rate is not always the best gauge of a successful campaign. We like to take everything into consideration, make sure it's all working together, because everybody does things a little bit differently. Everybody takes different actions when they're shopping for shoes on the web. And within that dashboard, you're going to be able to see all the targeting that we're doing as well. So you could be going through this and saying, oh, so we're targeting luxury store buyers. So people that go into luxury stores, high-end buyers, you might say, you know, maybe we could drop that down a little bit so it's not just all luxury. And that's where we say, okay, let's we can still keep this segment, but then also add in another segment to get maybe someone that's not super into luxury, but also somebody else that fits into the category that you want to reach. That's the best part too about digital. Once it's live, it's fluid. It's super fluid. We can adjust on the fly with the zip codes, the targeting, whatever that is. We want to give it time to, there's a learning phase that goes into it. So we want to give it a little bit time too to figure out what it's doing, but then also that's where we're going to be monitoring it, offering suggestions, and you can provide feedback to us as well. So we're all working on this together to make sure it's as successful as possible. You'll also see, you know, we get this question a lot, where are my ads showing up? So this is just a little snapshot. This list is pretty in depth, but you can see the top performing channels would have been Daily Mail, Yahoo, Reddit, Musi, and Cox. So we also are very particular about which websites we're running on. So there's never anything questionable, but it's very transparent. You'll be able to see where your ads are showing up. Also on what device. So mobile and desktop are always going to be the top two. Then we won't have tablet below that. So yeah, across the board, the reporting is super in depth. You'll have access to it. One thing we do like to do too, once that campaign's up and running, let's meet every month. Let's go over the metrics. Let's talk about it together. How are things going on your end? Have you seen sales increase? What are you seeing? So then again, it's a partnership. We all want to work together. Of course, Rudy will be the one heading that up, but it's not going to be like, thanks for signing up with us. See you later. That's not how we work. We definitely want to make it a partnership. And why work with us? So our ops team are definitely paid like salespeople to help achieve your goals. So they also have a vested interest. But the websites I was talking about, it's called the Concast Top 5,000 websites, which means, the ESPN, CNNs, everything that's, there's nothing questionable. You're not going to see your ad somewhere where you wouldn't want it to be. And we regularly curate those block lists of undesirable websites. So your ad won't be there. This is kind of cool. We prioritize above the fold. And if you've been in the newspaper industry, that's where that term came from. So with the paper folded in half above the fold, that applies as well for websites. So where when you log onto a website, what's in your screen right now is considered above the fold. So those ad positions see the most engagement. So that's where we like to have your ads show up, not at the very bottom. And then we do the optimizations I was talking about. We're always looking to make sure we're hitting the right targeting. The frequency capping. So that means that one person does not get retargeted 100 times in a day. That doesn't help anybody. We set those frequency caps to something that's a little more viable. And then the KPIs for the click-through rate, as I mentioned too, the 0.10. So we keep our campaigns at the 0.10. And then just some brand safety settings that we have. It gets a little bit more technical, but we never want your ads running adjacent to any questionable content as well. So not only the websites we stay off of anything that might have questionable content. And then we're also screening all those impressions before the bid goes out. So again, making sure basically that your ad is showing up in an appropriate place in an appropriate manner. And we did here's a study for an HVAC. So they were looking for more service calls and increasing their market share. So we ran that display campaign, targeted specific behaviors for the home repair, maintenance, home improvement, I think was in here as well. But we ran this campaign for a year and generated over 5,500 conversions. You can see the click-through rate was just crazy at 3.33. So a lot of factors go into that as well with the creative. We want to make sure the creative has a strong call to action. That's where we can help guide you with that as well. But we just want it to be a clean creative as well. Just shows your message, what you're trying to convey. Keep it simple, keep it clean, and you can see results like this. So yeah. And then we have Rudy's contact information. So it's kind of a short and sweet one today, but display is pretty straightforward, but it's just it's a great tool to use, especially when you pair it with SEM or some of that local SEO. That was the first webinar that we did. So anything that would get people, once they've seen the message, they may not initially act, but then if they go searching across the web later on, we'd have something that could have that brand recall with the SEM or local SEO, whatever that might be. I'll go back to you, Brooke.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nancy. It's another interesting topic, and I always get excited if I'm reading an article and I see a local business's ad pop up, and I'm like, how did they do that? And this is it. So, I think that sometimes we feel like it's always the big businesses that you see there, and you don't even think that it's achievable or affordable as a small business or organization to be in that spot. So I think that all of these sessions have kind of built up, but that's the point really, I think, is that that there are tactics to get there, and you can help get people there depending on their budget. So thank you so much. Certainly, if anyone has any questions, this is our last session. So if you've had any thoughts kind of building over the 5 sessions as well, now's a great time to ask. You can jump in that chat box. Also, if there's something more specific that you'd prefer to ask offline, you can certainly contact Rudy and he'll connect you with the team. So don't hesitate there. But Nancy, could you go back to the customer journey slide? I was just thinking, all of these tactics have fit into that journey really nicely. And I think really this is something that can help in marketing, just overall better understand how different tools help in different parts of this journey, and also why it's good to be thinking about all those steps in the journey as you kind of plan and invest in different tactics. So I just wanted to put that up in front of people again. I know some on the call have more experience with marketing, others are don't have much at all, and so this is all pretty fresh and educational. But yeah, anybody have any questions at
And I
all?
think you had a good point too, Brooke, as far as you can compete with the big names. Don't think that you can't. You can certainly compete with them, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend a ton of money either. It's just more about being effective and efficient in what you're doing. So it looks like we have a question pop up.
Yeah, so the question is, which of the tools that we've discussed these past few sessions are most popular? And I guess, like, where would you suggest starting perhaps, or does it depend on the industry?
So no, it's a great question. The biggest thing depends on what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? So, and I'm glad we're on the slide too, because this walks right through it. If you're a new business in town, say a dentist just came to town, nobody knows you, and you want to get your name out there. So branding and awareness is going to be key. So that's what we would be able to do the programmatic display, streaming TV, those products that are just, hitting specific targets to get your name out there. However, we do like it when at least there's 2 products paired together. So like the SEM. So once someone does see the ad, they might not act immediately, but if then, and when it's time to have a dentist, they do a search. If your ad shows up right there on Google, then you can see, and they click on and make the appointment. You can see how those work together. So they'd have the brand recall from seeing your streaming TV ad, maybe not acting on it, but then later on do a search on Google and they're like, oh yeah, this is the dentist that I saw his ad on, streaming online. And so there's that brand recall. So if you have something higher for branding and awareness, along with something at the conversion point, that's what we recommend. But each is, everybody's different, and these are all customized solutions. So the best thing to do is reach out to Rudy. We sit down in what's called a client needs analysis. So we go through everything. We ask you a lot of questions to see, what are you trying to accomplish? Who do you want to target? What's your target area? What the expectations are across the board. And then we go back and put together a tailored proposal for you to accomplish what you're looking to do.
Great. There's another question. You mentioned using a competitor's name in the web page keywords. I never thought of that. Is that as simple as I think it is?
Good question, Chris. And it could be that simple. Definitely. It's just a matter of, if someone does happen to search for a competitor, then, that's that specific keyword that we're using. Then you can start showing up, your ads would start showing up across the web, cross weather, whatever that might be, just because, you might not have been in a consideration before, but now they're like, oh, I hadn't thought about this business, but because we use their name as a keyword, it basically is that simple. So it's a good strategy to use, especially depending on what the business is. It's a good strategy to use.
And is that effective for kind of direct competitors in a geographic market, or with the online world these days, your big competitor might be a big box or a store across the country. Is that
Yeah,
you could
definitely.
use any of them?
Yeah, like the furniture example from the other day, we could use Wayfair. We could certainly use Wayfair. So, um, yeah, and then we would just monitor it too to see how effective that keyword is performing.
Mhm.
And if it's worth it, then we keep going on with it because each of them are associated with a cost per click. So we want to make sure that it's showing a good ROI for you.
Yep. Um, Chris had a follow-up. In a small market with few hard to find competitors.
I
Not
mean,
sure.
yeah, we could certainly do it in a small market too. It would just, depend as far as not necessarily depend, but you'd certainly be putting in consideration using a competitor's keyword as well. It might not show up as much as if you're looking for boots in general, using boots as a keyword, we're going to see more impressions. So we might not have as much inventory for a competitor keyword, but if it can be triggered. If someone is using your competitor keyword, we can certainly have an ad triggered to be served afterwards. So it just depends. Yeah. As far as the inventory, again, that could be just a smaller pool when it comes down to those competitor keywords.
And I think that's one of the interesting things with all of these digital tools, and the fact that they're real humans like you keeping an eye on the project, is that if you can try things out, and if it's not effective, you can switch it. You're not committed to that strategy forever, and you can really track whether it's working or not. So I think that's one of the nice things, that you get that kind of immediate reporting, and and you can change. Couple more questions. If your goal is brand awareness in a local market, does it make sense to target more people a few times, or to keep targeting people who fit your demographic most? And is it even possible to limit how many times someone is served an ad?
Ooh, great. 5 part question. Multiple parts. I like it. So it makes sense to target more people a few times or keep targeting the people. So oftentimes what we would do with that, Nick, is start out maybe casting a wider net, depending again what the goal is. Are you trying to reach as many people as possible? And after a month, we can see within that audience who has had the most engagement, and then start narrowing that audience down a little bit more to see if it's still effective, and get in front of those specific people that are engaging with the ad, that are converting. And we can even do something that's called a lookalike audience. Start reaching people that look similar to these people. And sometimes those demographics can be a little bit outside of what you thought what you thought your best customer might look like. So it's a lot of kind of AI on the back end too, that's showing us where those best consumers are coming from. But then also, as far as your question, limit how many times someone has served the ad, that's the frequency that I was speaking about. So we definitely don't want to be obtrusive and serve somebody an ad 100 times in one day. That's where we cap that. Usually it's less than 8 within 24 hours. Sometimes it's 3 within 24 hours, but it's definitely something that we monitor because we don't want to waste any ads either. So, and we don't want to be annoying, but we want to get in front of them enough to make sure that they're aware of the brand. I think I read where, I think our stat is, it's like 8 times it takes for someone to actually realize the ad that they've seen. So definitely we're monitoring that too, Nick.
Great. Great questions, everyone. Keep them coming. There was a request here for us to send out the slide that we're looking at with the specific tactics in each part of the funnel. So maybe Nancy, you guys can work on that where it's all combined. I like how this has kind of connected the series, but yeah, that might be helpful just to see that one image and how each of the tactics fits into the funnel, we can send that out. There will also be a promotion offered by the Watertown Daily Times team for chamber members. So, and if you're a member of any of the chambers across the North Country, you'll be eligible. If you're not a chamber member, feel free to reach out to your local chamber or your regional chamber, and we can get you connected there too. So we will follow up with that promotion as well as this this funnel page. It's a great suggestion.
Yeah, people love it. The one that we do have, it's all encompassing and it's handy dandy. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Good. Any other questions before we close for the day and the series?
No, that's kind of sad. Maybe we'll have to do another one in the fall.
I'm sure it's something where I always say I appreciate these programs, one, because they take little nuggets and get into it deeply each session, but each time I learn a little bit more, and everyone describes it a different way. So you and Chris are able to really present it in a way that, you know, each time you could attend these 10 times, and by the 10th time it might all come together. So it's little by little.
Yeah, a lot of information, and things are changing so much with digital too. So just staying up to date, it can be a lot. So yeah, thankful that you were able to help us out. You know, Brooke, thank you for putting this on, and we've had great attendance, engagement. Yeah, it's been a good time. Appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you, Nancy, and thank all of you for your engagement and your attendance. We will get this final recording out. You can find all of them on the St. Lawrence County Chamber YouTube channel as well. So thank you again, and I hope everyone has a great day and almost weekend. Take care.